All right, this is the video for the math 7th grade unit 3A assessment review. So this is the review. All right, so I'm going to do each problem. I may have to toggle from back to notebook paper to the actual paper due to the graphs and stuff on this paper. All right, so the first one says solve and graph each inequality on a number line. All right, so remember, in inequality are the greater than symbol, the less than symbol, or the less than or equal to, or the greater than or equal to. And so when we do these, we talked about it being an open circle. So like that's an open circle, or a closed circle, which is like it's kind of dark. The open circle means we do not include that number, but we can include everything to the left or right, depending on our situation. And the closed one, this one right here, we include it. That's where the equal to comes in. All right, so we're going to do this. And remember, the only time we, when we're multiplying or dividing a negative number away from the variable at the end, then we have to flip our inequality. So those are the main things that we're going to review a little bit. All right, so here we go. All right, so we have a less than symbol. All right, so here we we had three things that we talk about, like 3 steps. So we're kind of reviewing those as well. So my variable, what's my variable? My variable's x. All right, x is being multiplied by 3. The opposite of multiply by 3 is divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and so we have x is less than or equal to 3 goes into 15. Remember, it's a negative 15. So we have 1 negative. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. Now we don't flip the inequality because there's no negative on the variable here. See, when we move the 3 over, we didn't change it. It's not a negative 3. It's positive 3. All right, so how do we graph this? All right, so what we do is we go to, and I made this number 9 blank. This is how I did on the test, so you can create your own. I'm going to just say that this is negative 5. I'd like one higher and one lower. And like I said, it doesn't really matter. So I can just pick right here. If I'm going higher and I'm negative, I can put that. If you want to put 0 or a positive 1, that's fine too. This way, these numbers get, the lower they are, the bigger they are. So you could do something like that as well. All right. And you just have to put a couple. You don't have to put as many as I'm just kind of telling you. You can put, you don't even have to put -4 here. You can put 1, 2, 3, however you want to do it. All right, so look, is it going to be an open or close? So if you look, you'll see that there's a equal to sign. So that means we're going to have a close. So I'm going to put a close on -5. All right, now ask yourself. Now, we talked about this in class. Sometimes if you have the variable on the left, it's easy for us to identify which way we're going. But I really want you to pay attention where the variable is and ask yourself, is the variable, the number that we're picking for the variable is to make this statement true? You're going to have to kind of listen to this. So, all right. So what number or what's a number less than -4? All right. So you got to think of a number less than -4. Well, negative, whenever you say less than, when you have to go to the left. If we said greater than, we would go to the right. All right. That's the key thing. Less than is left. Greater than would go to the right. And that's my answer right there. All right. So let's look at the next one. The next one you see, you have negative t over 4 is less or greater than 20. All right, remember that the t is being divided by 4. So what's the opposite of divide by 4? Multiply both sides by 4. All right, now, this is also a negative. So we can also say a -4. So we're going to have a -4 on both sides. The -4 divided by -4 is t. And 20 times a -4 is a -80. However, this time we divided by a negative. See, the variable has a negative on it. So that means we flip our inequality. So the alligator is not eating the t. The alligator is going to eat the plain number. So that's what it looks like. So it's a less than symbol. So we go here. It's going to be a open circle because there's no bar. I better number my numbers. So we're going to say it's -80. Let's pretend this is 0. And we'll say this is -99. All right, so we will have an open, and I need a number less than it. So remember, less means I go to the left, so I'm going to go to the left, and that's it right there. That means every number will fit through there. So that's our answer. Don't forget, when the variable is negative, has a negative on it, and you're dividing or multiplying a negative, remember, multiply or dividing, a negative away from the variable. See, we divided both sides by, I multiplied both sides by -4 here. And because we multiplied both sides by -4, we're multiplying a negative away from the variable. Now my variable is not negative, and it flips the inequality. All right, we're going to do another one. We're starting to get a little bit bigger and fun. All right, so we're going to do this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. I'm going to put it right here. Probably need to put this on notebook paper. I'm telling you, whenever you have big problems, you might want to just put it, because if you start crowding it, you're going to make a mistake, or somebody's grading your paper may not be able to see what you're writing. So there's my original problem right there. We'll let the camera focus. All right, and I'm going to distribute, because I have a parentheses, I'm going to distribute the -3. So -3 times x is a -3x. A -3 times -4. Two negatives make a positive, and 3 times 4 is 12. And then it's greater than or less than -24. All right, so now we ask ourselves, what's our variable? What's being done to our variable? And we want to do the opposite to both sides. So my variable's x, it's being multiplied by -3, and it's being added by 12. When we talk about that, we always get rid of add and subtract first. So I'm going to subtract 12 to both sides. And we're talking about both sides of this inequality. Notice how I line up my numbers. Bring down my 3x. Bring down my inequality. Remember, this is 0. It's a 0 pair. A -24 and a -12. All right, so when you have two negatives, you're going to add them. This is add and subtract area. The only time it's multiply and divide is when we're getting the number away from x. All right, so take your calculator, use your calculator, and actually put in the problem. Now I'm going to do this so you can see it. So I'm going to hit, notice my first number is like negative or subtract. So I'm actually going to hit where the negative button is. It's down here. So I hit this and then 24. Okay, so remember, I hit that first because it's my first number. My first number is negative. Now, when my second number is negative, I'm going to hit the subtract button. So I'm going to hit subtract 12. All right, so this is what it looks like. Well, if I turn it on, it'll look like that. So here we go. I'm going to do it again. Ready? So negative right here, 24. And remember, this is the second number, so we're going to put subtract 12. Now let's hopefully we got it. All right, there it is. See how it kind of looks like that? And you can see the difference in a negative on a calculator and a subtract on a calculator. They're the same thing, though. I mean, they mean exactly the same thing. It's just which order they come in. So if your first number is negative, use the negative sign that they actually have on the calculator. If it's the second number, hit a subtract button. So I'm going to hit enter. And you see, look, it's a -36. All right, here we go. What's my variable? It's x. What's being done to x is being multiplied by -3. Notice I said multiplied by -3. So the opposite is divide by -3. And because I'm dividing, that's going to flip my inequality. 3 goes into 3 one time. So 1 times x is x. 3 goes into 36 12 times. Two negatives make a positive. So this is a positive. And so that's that right there. Okay, so let's go graph this. So I'm going to put this on our paper so we have it here so you can see. I just want to make sure I didn't make any mistakes because I get in a hurry and sometimes I do. It looks fine. Let's see, subtract 12, 36, divide. That's 12, good. It's negative, positive. Okay, good. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to put 12 here. I'm going to pick a number greater than 12. We'll say 13, and make a number smaller than 12. We'll say 11. If you look right here, oh, you can't see it, sorry. If you look right here, you can see that it's a closed. So we're going to put a big closed on the 12. And we want a number less than 12. So that means we go left because left sides are less numbers. And that's how you do that one right there. Okay, the next series of problems, or really inequalities, to solve for the inequality. They don't want us to graph. We're just going to solve them. So I'm going to do this on notebook paper. I'm just going to kind of work them out and kind of go through each one and do it. So I'm going to do these on my paper. So here's number 4. All right, so we have 2x minus 7y is less than 14. All right, so we want to solve for y. That means we want y by itself. That's what we want. We want it to say y equals or y whatever, okay? All right, so when you do this, you always get rid of the x first. So we want to move x over first. So we're gonna move it over. So it's a positive 2x. So we're going to subtract 2x. So I'm gonna subtract 2x to both sides. This becomes a zero pair. So we're gonna bring down our negative. Now remember, that's a -7. If I cover that up, even though it's a subtract because of it's between two things, it's the second term. We're going to cover that up, and now it's a subtract, so negative. So we're going to say -7y. Oh my goodness, I put an equal to sign by accident. So less than, that's a less than. Hopefully that looks better. Now remember, I can't subtract these really. You can't take have $14 and somebody say, hey, can I borrow 2 X's from you? And you say, sure. And you think you have 12 X's. No, you don't have 12 X's. You have $14 and you have 2 letters, and you cannot subtract those away from each other. So because they're different terms, we just write them out like we see it, 14 minus 2x. Now you could put the 2x first. If you do, it'd be a minus 2x plus 14. So you could. So like this is what we have. If I wanted to switch them around, the negative has to go with the 2x. So it'd be a minus 2x. And since that's a positive number, remember the sign's always in front of the number. And we put it right here in front. Okay, so you could write either one of those. I like writing it just like I see it, 14 minus 2x. Now, what's my variable? As you see, my variable is y. It's being multiplied by -7. Again, it's being multiplied by -7. So the opposite is divide everything by -7. And because we're dividing and we have an inequality in here, it's going to make us flip our inequality. So now it's a greater than sign instead of less than. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 1 times y is y. 7 goes into 14 2 times. If you look, I only have 1 negative, so it's a negative. 2 negatives make a positive, and I'm just going to write a fraction, 2 over 7, and then put the x kind of like in the middle. So there we go. Now I'm going to graph. Oh, I don't have to graph this one. This is my answer. So if I go here, I'll put this answer here. So I just put it on my paper. That's all I'm going to do. All right, so number 5. Let's go right to number 5. Guys, it helps if I could read. 8y is less than or equal to -24. All right, we're going to move out the camera a little bit. There we go. It makes it a little easier. All right, so again, we want to solve for y. Every one of these, I want you to solve for y. Okay, so we want it to be y equals or whatever. I'm going to put y equals or greater than or less than or whatever. I mean, equals and the inequalities are basically the same format. All right, here we go. So I want to look at what my variables. My variable is being multiplied by 8, and it's also being subtracted by x. Remember, this plus only goes to the 8. So y is being multiplied by a positive 8, and y is being subtracted by x. So we always get rid of the add and subtract first. So the opposite of subtract is add x to both sides. This becomes a zero pair, so we bring down our 8y. -24 plus x. All right, now look at my y. My y is being multiplied by 8, so we divide everything by 8. I'm not dividing by negative numbers, so my inequality stays the same because that's not negative. We don't care about this side. We only care what's being done to the y. All right, 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 1 times y is y. 8 goes into 24 3 times, and we have 1 negative here. Now, remember, this is like a fraction. You could say x over 8, but how many x's do you see here? Well, remember, if you see a letter there, there's really a 1 in it. So if we say we have an 8, it's really like saying 1 over 8, and we put the x there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put plus 1 over 8, and then put the x there. All right, and that's our answer. That's the equation that we wrote for. All right, so number 6 is our next one. Number 6 is a big one too, isn't it? I like those. These are fun to do, aren't they? I know when we had them in class that y'all really enjoyed these things. All right, so we're going to try this. This is number 6. Might take up all my page here. Wouldn't that be fun? All right, look at that. Ooh, that's a big one too. All right, so if you look, I got parentheses here. And we talked about in class, whenever you see a parentheses, you need to distribute. Distribute means we multiply the number that's next to the parentheses to everything in here. So I usually say this is like a room, you know, like the 3x plus 5. Inside the parentheses is like the classroom. The teacher comes in and distributes everything, gets papers to everybody in the classroom. So everybody in this room gets a 2. So we're going to multiply 2 to 3, and we're going to get 6x. 2 to 5, and that's plus 10. This is not in the room, so it stays there. Greater than. Now, negative 5 is being distributed to everything inside this room. So this is going to be negative 5 and x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 2, that makes it positive 10. And then we have somebody that's not in the room, they're outside. Now, when you have this situation, you got to kind of make sure you don't have, you can combine like terms. Combine like terms means they both either have the same letter or they're just plain numbers. So if you look here, I don't have an X on this side. See, this is like some teachers say, like pretend like it's a wall. On this side of the wall, you don't see but one X. So we're just going to put 6X here. These are the same, these are numbers. Like if you were to add and subtract. So if I cover that up, it's like saying 10 minus 4. So 10 minus 4 is 6. All right, negative x, 5x. There's no more x's on this side, so we're going to put negative 5x. But we have a 10 plus a 10. Well, that makes 20. All right, now we want to move the x's to one side and the numbers to the other. So it'd be just like that room thing again. So like, let's say that I have 2 rooms and I want to put boys in one room and girls in another room. This is one room. This is one room. And we'll say the girls are like x's and the boys are just plain numbers. All right, so you have a choice. You can either move the girls in this room or you can move the girls in that room. You can move the boys in that room or you can move the boys to that room, but you can't put them in the same room. And remember, whenever you move one to the opposite side, you have to do the opposite of the sign. So here we go. This is a plus 6. I'm going to move the boys over here. So instead of plus 6, I'm going to say minus 6 to both sides. Six x is greater negative 5x plus 14. All right, now I moved that. That's all of the boys right there. So I got boys and girls here. So I'm going to move this group of girls over to this side. And so I got to do the opposite. So the opposite of minus 5x is plus 5x. Six x plus 5x is 11x. And we have 14 over here. All right, so what's my variable? It's x. And what is being done to x? It's being multiplied by 11. The opposite of multiply by 11 is divide both sides by 11. These 11s cancel out. So x is greater. Now, we're going to leave this as improper for right now. All right. Now, when we go to, if you were to graph this, then I would want you to go ahead and change it to a decimal so you could see on a number line where it would fall. But because we're not graphing this, I'm okay with this. Just leave it like it is. All right. If you need to reduce it, though, you need to reduce it. So make sure you know how to reduce it. Now, notice I did not divide by a negative number. It's a positive number. So I didn't have to flip anything here. And that's our answer. It wasn't so bad, was it? Only took half a page, right? All right. So those are the best ones to do. Number 7. All right, so this is number 7. Again, we're going to do the same thing. My y is what we're solving for, so it's being negative. That's actually being multiplied by -1, just to let you know that. And it's also being added. Remember, what's the sign in front of the 5? It's a big positive, so this is plus 5x. What's the opposite of plus 5x? So we're going to say minus 5x to both sides. These cancel out. It becomes a 0 pair. Bring down my negative y. And a -10 and a negative 5x. Looks like that. Now, look at this one. This one has a negative on it. All right. So we can't have a negative variable by itself. You remember, it really is a -1. And so we could divide everything by a -1. And that's technically what we're doing. I'm going to keep here in the instructional part what we're really doing so you kind of know. Because that's a negative. I mean, think about it. How many y's do you see there? 1. It's a -1y. So we're going to divide everything by -1. And I mean everything by -1. All right. Remember, I did multiply or divide by negative away from the variable. And because of that, this inequality is going to flip. So this will be a positive because these two will cancel each other out. Basically, not cancel, but become 1. 1 goes into 10 10 times. It's a positive because 2 negatives. This one's 2 negatives, so it's going to be a positive. And 5 goes into 5. 1 goes into 5 one time. So that's going to be 5x. So there is my answer right there. Very good. All right. So now let's go to number 8. And I'm going to go ahead and put my answers on this paper so that way you see them real quick. I want to get this done. All right. So this one was x. All right. So now we're going over finding the constant proportionality and its equation k equals y over x. That's how you find k. Remember, you could take the y value over the x value. Then you take whatever answer you get here, you put it in for k here and come up with an equation. All right. So it doesn't, and then we want to check it just to make sure that it is proportional. Remember, proportional means my line is going through the origin. If it's not proportional, my line is not going through the origin. All right, so here we go. Let's take these two here. All right, my y value, remember k is y over x. My y value is -5, so I'm going to say -5. My x is -1, so I'll put it here. 2 negatives make a positive, and 1 goes into 5 5 times. So k equals 5. All right, so if I was to write an equation, I'm going to take y equals kx, and I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to plug it in right there. So my equation is y equals 5x. Now look, I can pick any reason. We want to check these. Take 2, put it in for x. 2 times 5 is 10. Is that 10? Yes. 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Is that 20? Yes. 5 times 5 is 25. Yes. So I know this is proportional. All right. Let's look at number 9. We want to find the k value and the constant proportionality here. Look at my line. Does it go through the origin? Yes. So we know it's a proportion automatically. Now we're going to pick a point, and we want to pick a point where where our dark line intersects two gray lines that intersect with each other. And if you look, it doesn't there. No, not there, because see, it would have to be right here. This one's close, but it's not directly in the middle. That would be right there. No, this one looks like it's the closest. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. We're going to put a big dot right there. Now, we can go and check another one if we want to, but let's just use that one right there. So let's find out what this point is. It's 5, and this looks like 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's a 3. That's a 5. So if I said k is y over x, my y value, remember this is my y value, this is my x value. My y value is 3. My k value is 5. So if I was to write this as an equation, then I just plug that in for k because that's what k equals. And I would say y equals 3/5 k. You can check it by looking at the line. Is it going up or down? It is. So that's a positive slope. So we did good on that one. And we can check it. We could go up 3, 1, up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see we touch it. We can go down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we touch the line. So it worked out good. All right, so here's another one. So we want to find the K value again. All right, so we're going to find K. Remember, K is Y over X. So I'm going to pick 2 points. That's these guys right here. We have to pick an, like the same kind. We can't pick -2 and 36. It wouldn't work. So here we go. 6 will go on top. My -2 will go on the bottom. All right, so here we go. If I divide 6 and -2 into 6, I get a -3. So we're saying our K is a -3. So if I do my equation again, I'm going to plug that -3 in there, and I'm going to get Y equals a -3x. So let's test it. I mean, like I said, you got to text these things. Ready? All right, so -2 times a -3 is a +6. 5 times a -3 is -15. That's not -15. So this one doesn't work. So it's not a proportion like we think it is. All right. So this one's non-proportional. All right. That's how we do it. All right. So let's look at this guy. All right. So K is Y over X. So I got to find something that looks really good. So I'm going to zoom in here, maybe help us out a little bit better if we look closer. So we're looking for where my green line crosses intersect. Oh, it looks like it's right there. All right, so we're going to put a little dot right there. Let's check, see if there's another one. Looks like it's right there as well. All right, so let's go. We're going to pick this point. This looks like it's a 4. And this looks like 1, -1. All right, so here we go. So my Y value is -1. My X value is 4. So it looks like my K is going to be a -1/4, which makes my YKX, remember we're plugging that in there, is Y equals a negative, can't write, paper sticking, -1/4 with an X on it. So that would be my equation. And we can check it just to make sure. Have 1 over 4, blah, 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 blah. Now, there we go. And that's basically how we do the Unit 3 for 7th grade, the Unit 3 assessment review.